Hi and welcome back to Classic MGB. Now many of you will know the well-known motoring journalist and classic car advocate Quentin Wilson died following a short battle with lung cancer on the 8th of November 2025. In 1997, Quentin wrote and produced an episode of the BBC show The Car's the Star, all about the MGB. Whilst not being complimentary about the attempted destruction of the brand by BL, it's clear he had a soft spot for the MGB, so we're proud to show the episode in its entirety in this video. Jeremy Clarkson, who worked with Quentin on the old Top Gear programme, has led tributes to his old colleague, calling him both a good bloke and a properly funny man. But he was, of course, much more than that. Quentin Wilson was a broadcaster who changed how Britain talked about cars, not through noise, but through knowledge. On Top Gear and beyond, Quentin brought clarity, calm thinking and genuine respect for engineering and design. He didn't chase shock value, he explained things, making the complex simple, and he treated good motoring journalism as something that should help people, not impress algorithms or headlines. His acerbic wit and sometimes scathing comments all had the basis in truth, and he was never afraid to express his own opinions. He was vocal in highlighting the artificially high price of new cars in the UK compared to Europe in the 90s and campaigned on behalf of Fair Fuel UK for lower government fuel duty. Quentin will be missed by all that knew him and will be a genuine loss to the classic car community. With apologies for picture quality, it was the best we could find. Sit back and watch the Car's the Star programme on the MGB, written and produced by the real star of the show, Quentin Wilson.
Why did they do it? Spoil it so? And such a familiar, friendly old thing. But they wouldn't and couldn't leave it alone. Those harebrained bean counters in their company suits, those miserable meddlers with their bad ideas. They systematically tortured, butchered, and tried to murder it. But it just wouldn't lie down and die. The MGB had charmed us for too long. There were too many happy and wholesome memories. It was the one car they couldn't kill.
This jolly little car wasn't just charming, cheerful and charismatic. For a while it was the world's best-selling sports car. But through a sorry catalogue of mistakes, muck-ups and corporate fecklessness, what started as a perfectly reasonable little machine ended up robustly ruined. The MGB story is an awful warning that allowing committees and corporations to design motorcars is a lot like opening the china shop door to a herd of wildebeest.
The MGB debuted in 1962 and was rightly greeted with all the superlatives going. A smash hit from day one, it marked the civilization of the sports car. Two-seaters had always been rough, raucous, drafty and damp. But the B changed all that. It was low, snorty, multi-carburetted, and it had a heater and wind-up windows.
The first time I saw the lines of the MGB from my drawing coming out in the quarter scale, it went through into the paint shop. And then it comes back and there's your complete motor car with scaled down wheels, windscreen, everything. I really felt then, yeah, we got something.
At just £950, it was a complete wow. With a chromium grin, leather seats and that big nautical steering wheel, it had a classy carelessness. Plus, it was safe, predictable and well-mannered. By 65, BMC had sold 80,000, all of them soft tops.
MG's engineers had been trying to put a pretty hardtop on the B, but never quite got it right. It wasn't until Italian stylist Pininfarina was drafted in that things started to look happier. In one of the deftest styling coups ever, he put on a metal roof that looked so good, it was immediately dubbed the poor man's Aston Martin, the MGB-GT. The mid-60s were the MGB's halcyon years. BMC had got it exactly right. The B might not have been the greatest car in the world. It still had a dashboard with minor controls strewn across it like graffiti, seats you had to adjust with the help of a spanner, and it could be out-cornered by a Mini Cooper. But it looked and sounded like a sports car should.
I'm really glad I chose the GT because that's the main reason why I've been able to keep it. It's much more practical for me. I've now got some children, they can ride in the back, it's still possible. And I've used it as a day-to-day car. I use it every day, all the time, winter, summer, whatever. And the GT has served, it was a prototype hatchback, and it's served me very well. It's something essentially British, old-fashioned, anachronistic, but it's nice. It's an honest car, a comfortable, like an old tweed jacket.
And this tweedy old thing brought sports cars to the popular imagination. At long last, here was a machine you didn't have to suffer to own, which is precisely why 3 out of 5 MGBs ended up in America.
The American market was probably what dictated the whole design of the car. At that time, it was by far the biggest market for all MGs altogether, and has been so since just after the end of the war. And they all responded to any demand that was made by the American distributors.
Something different, something exciting. That's what made MG the sports car America loved first.
But courting the fickle US market was like selling the bee's soul to the devil. Abingdon was spending too much money on lunatic American safety and environmental laws, which would end up strangling the MGB completely. Meanwhile, back in Blighty, a bulging bonnet heralded even more mistakes.
In a rather half-hearted attempt to give the MGB more power, BMC shoehorned in a none too brilliant 3-litre straight-six engine. They called it the MGC. Now, this could have been a great car, but it wasn't. It was too expensive, it wasn't sufficiently different enough from the cheaper MGB, and with all this weight up front, it handled like a destroyer. BMC also managed to get the press launch wrong, so the motoring magazines laid into it with a vicious zeal. No surprise then that only 10,000 found buyers. The MGC debacle cost BMC millions, but things were about to get worse, much worse.
In 1968, BMC was gobbled up by British Leyland, who began a process of corporate vandalism from which the MGB would never recover. Gone forever were the natty leather seats, slatted grinning grille, and vintage wire wheels. And as for putting those pernicious blue badges on the wings, that was the cruelest cut of all. BL could be really cruel, and thought nothing of stealing other people's ideas. Ken Costello was the first to put a V8 into the MGB.
Leyland's didn't think it was possible to fit that engine into the MGB. I decided that it was possible, and to that end, I did it, and it was successful. And Leyland's, having read the road test, and in fact tried the car, they decided to produce their own.
So they stole your idea.
Exactly.
His car is the blueprint for whatever followed on before. And anything else that came afterwards is obviously a copy of a Costello idea.
And what's it like?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's exhilarating, very, very fast, frighteningly fast. And I don't think I'd ever part with it. Love the car.
BL stopped supplying Costello with engines and brought out a V8 of their own. It was one of the finest MGBs ever, but drove smack into the fuel crisis of 1973. The mistakes were mounting, and the millions were hemorrhaging away. But BL's biggest mistake came in 1974. Purists recoiled. Unlovely rubber bumpers and a jacked-up ride height that made it look like it was going permanently downhill. Traditionalism had been sacrificed on the altar of modernity.
We hated doing it, of course, because one of the problems was that the MGB is so low. And the regulation is designed to suit American cars, so the bumper heights are between 16 and 20 inches. Well, we were way below there.
The later American cars were hopeless. They were so low powered, they wouldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding or whatever they eat in America.
BL tried a little product placement.
You're a very wonderful human being, Paddy.
But a terrible kangaroo.
You do like me a little, then?
I like you a lot. But then I like Beethoven a lot.
The difference is he's dead, and I'm very much alive.
But you're playing in the wrong key.
So just how dire were those last MGBs? Well, let's start with those seats. The ridiculous deck chair striped brine island abominations were nothing more than a blow to the optic nerve. And the interior? A sorry stew of bits robbed from other BL relics. Switches from Austin Allegros and door handles from Morris Marinas. As for those urethane bumpers, grotesque is the only word. And only a 2-year-old would have tried to jolly the car along with these infantile stick-on stripes. BL had taken a once elegant little car and made it look like it had been designed by Hugh Hefner and Liberace.
Even the Americans said enough was enough. By 1980, thousands of unsold MGBs languished in the US. Abingdon was losing £400,000 a week. On October 21st, 1981, the last MGB rolled quietly off the line. The world's most popular two-seater was dead.
When the closure of the factory at Abingdon was announced on Black Monday, there was anger, dismay, and fury. We couldn't understand why the MG name and the MG sports car, which had been synonymous with Britain and sports cars since the 1920s, famous throughout the whole world, was just going to be curtailed just like that.
The reason was BL reckoned they had something better.
America is coming home in the shape of things to come.
The ill-fated and hideously ugly Triumph TR7.
Even after TR7 had gone into full-scale production, the Americans still bought more MGBs than they bought TR7s. I think it was quite the same thing in this country. I myself had an MGB, a very late one, 1980 last year production. I used it for 18 months, enjoyed it thoroughly. I then swapped it for TR7 drophead and felt rather as if I'd come into something like an Escort convertible.
But not content with murdering the MGB, Leyland did an equally fine job of assassinating the MG brand as well. They took two of the most hallowed letters in the history of motoring and plastered them over some of the worst cars ever made, such as the MG Metro. It was like putting an Aston Martin badge on a Datsun Cherry.
But Britain's favourite sports car was too popular to fade away. Thousands of passionate MG fanciers with their oily fingers saved the day. No sooner had the last car left the factory than enthusiasts started rebuilding old ones. Soon, a huge MGB industry mushroomed and every part needed to build a brand new one was remanufactured. If British Leyland wouldn't build it, the ordinary enthusiast would have to do it himself.
I bought the car in October 1986 from one neighbour. I gave him £400 for it as a wreck. I took the car completely to pieces, sent it to a local restorer to have the body shell restored, and from when it returned, I then built the car back myself. Well, I've always been keen on motoring things, I must admit. That really is my interest and hobby, always has been all my life, from the day I took the front wheel out of my bicycle when I was about 9 years old and my father had to put it back again.
Well, I used to fly aeroplanes a long time ago, and I've always felt it's the next best thing, and considerably cheaper than flying aeroplanes.
But the late 80s, the MGB had become a cult car. It had risen heroically from the dead and proved once and for all that those magical letters, MG, could still be a market force. And it was Rover who brought the MG brand back with a bang with the nostalgic MG V8 of 1993.
The RV8 was important in the sense that it gave what I would call a bit of steel back to MG. And in a way, it was also necessary to make an overstatement about MG and MG's performance in order to counter the relative weakness of the performance of the Metros and the Maestros and so on.
But the £25,000, 135-mile-an-hour RV8 wasn't new wine in an old bottle. It told the world that the MG badge wasn't just alive and well, it was in rude health.
Looking back, we owe an awful lot to the MGB. It made two-seaters popular, practical, and affordable. But more than that, it kept the genre of the sports car alive. The worldwide renaissance for suburban soft-tops is largely due to this disarming little motor. So next time you look at a Mazda MX-5 or a BMW Z3, just remember the MGB, the car that refused to roll over and die.